Okay, we know that international trade really boils down to relationships. That's basically the reason I'm here today. My relationship, my friendship with the next gentleman I'm about to tell you about and introduce. I am delighted to share more about Phoenix Sister Cities Commissioner Emilio Gaynor and the chair of the Trilateral Trade Conference. Now, I've known Emilio for many, many years, and we've had the pleasure of working together on projects in Phoenix with Mexico. Emilio does a lot of stuff. Currently, he serves as Chicanos por la Causa Mexico president and has spent his entire career in cross-border relations. He is bilingual and, of course, bicultural. Very important. He has led high-level business and government missions to Mexico, connecting trade, investment, business, and creating philanthropic partnerships. Working for 2 governors in Mexico relations and volunteering thousands of hours at Phoenix Sister Cities, he continues to enhance our cross-border community efforts. As a member of Phoenix Sister Cities, he served as the chair of the Phoenix Sister Cities Hermosillo City Committee for many, many years. And most importantly, he married into the Hermosillo community when he wed Monica, who is originally from Hermosillo. His daughter Samantha was also born in Hermosillo, and his son Arturo is first-generation Phoenician. So please welcome my friend, my compadre, Emilio. Abrazos. Fist up, right? Bueno.
Thank you, Heidi, for the introduction and for your friendship. You're an important part of the Phoenix legacy, growing up in Mexico and internationally, and the fact that your father was involved in bringing Phoenix closer together to Mexico. We are honored to have you. We appreciate the time you've given us these past 2 days. I want to take a moment to add my personal thanks to the committees who have worked on planning this conference for the past year and to our sponsors for their support. I appreciate their support of Mike Rakowski, our Hermosillo City Committee Chair, and Bob Albert, our Calgary City Committee Chair. Thank you guys so much. I also want to acknowledge the staff of Phoenix Sister Cities, starting with Rita Marco and her incredible team for all their work of pulling the pieces together of this conference. Also, I want to give a quick shout out to our president, David Adame at Chicanos por la Causa, and all the support and the unwavering support of Phoenix Sister Cities and allowing me to be part of this great conference and effort. Thanks also to Video West Audiovisual for the expert guidance, their patience, and their support. Bringing our communities together is as essential to me as the air I breathe. I am so appreciative of all the businesses and community leaders who have joined us for this conference. I'm particularly indebted to the mayors I'm about to introduce. Mayor Naheed Nenshi is Calgary's 36th mayor, sworn in on October 25th, 2010, and re-elected in 2013 and in 2017. Prior to being elected, Mayor Nenshi was with McKinsey & Company, later forming his own business to help public and private nonprofit organizations grow. He designed policy for the government of Alberta, and he even helped create a Canadian strategy for the Gap, Banana Republic, and Old Navy. He worked with the United Nations to determine how businesses can help the poorest people on the planet. He then entered academia, where he was Canada's first tenured professor in the field of nonprofit management and at Mount Royal University's Bissett Schools of Business. For his work, Mayor Nenshi has been named Young Global Leader of the World Economic Forum. I am honored he was honored with the President's Award from the Canadian Institute of Planners. What an incredible trajectory. And he received the Humanitarian Award from the Canadian Psychological Association for his contributions to community and mental health, among other honors. Mayor Nenshi holds a Bachelor's of Commerce from the University of Calgary and a Master's in Public Policy from the John F. Kennedy School of Government at Harvard University. And he studied there as a Kennedy Fellow. Welcome, Mayor. Today, for unforeseen circumstances, our great friend, Mayor Celida Lopez Cárdenas from Hermosillo, was not able to join us. But We are celebrating Hermosillo, and we honor the city, and we honor the mayor of Hermosillo, Ms. Cardenas, even though she couldn't be here. I'd like to now introduce Mayor Kate Gallego, who is the second woman elected mayor in Phoenix history and one of the youngest big city mayors in the United States. In November 2020, she was returned to the office with the highest number of votes ever cast for a mayoral candidate. A graduate of Harvard University, she earned an MBA from the Wharton School of Business at the University of Pennsylvania. She was elected to City Council, the Phoenix City Council, in 2013, representing South Phoenix. Her prior professional pursuits include strategic planning and economic development for one of Arizona's largest utility companies, and service in the government, including the Office of the Governor. Welcome, my Phoenix Mayor. Welcome. It is now my pleasure to introduce Sanjeev Khagram, who will moderate the State of International Trade in Calgary, Phoenix, and Hermosillo. Dr. Sanjeev Khagram is Director General and Dean of Thunderbird School of Global Management, ASU Foundation Professor of Global Leadership, and a member of ASU's Global Institute of Sustainability's Board of Directors. He is a world-renowned expert in global leadership, the international political economy, sustainable development, and the data revolution. He has worked extensively with global startups, corporations, governments, civil society groups, nonprofit organizations, cross-electoral action networks, and public-private partnerships, not to mention foundations, professional associations, and universities worldwide. Dr. Khagram holds a bachelor's degree in development studies and engineering and a master's degree and doctorate in political economy, all from Stanford University. Dr. Khagram is currently leading Phoenix's Global Rising, a metro-wide effort, an incredible metro-wide effort to mobilize businesses and community leaders to advance Phoenix's position on the global stage. Phoenix Sister Cities is honored to be a part of this effort. Let's join the panel.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. My name is Dr. Sanjeev Khagram. I'm the CEO, Director General, and Dean of the Thunderbird School of Global Management at Arizona State University. As we like to say, nowhere in the world do you get the #1 school for global management and the #1 university for innovation. Today, I have the honor and privilege of moderating a panel with two distinguished mayors, Mayor Kate Gallego of Phoenix and Mayor Naheed Nenshi of Calgary. Unfortunately, Mayor Lopez of Hermosillo was not able to join us. We'll try to bring in all of her great ideas and thoughts about Mexico, the United States, and Canada, and our partnership between cities. We want to thank Rita and all of the incredible team at Phoenix Sister Cities, and we're proud to be partnering with Phoenix Sister Cities, along with Mayor Gallego, launching Phoenix Global Rising, an effort to bring together all stakeholders in the city to make Phoenix a truly global, inclusive, sustainable, and prosperous city. So I want to start off with Mayor Gallego. Mayor Gallego, perhaps you could take a few minutes to share the work that you've been leading. Obviously, it's a complicated time as we hopefully emerge out of the COVID-19 pandemic. But as we have been saying, there are multiple associated pandemics, and yet we have this optimism of building back better during this decade of action towards 2030. Mayor Gallego, welcome.
Wonderful. Thank you, Director General Khagram, and thank you to Mayor Nenshi for joining us. This is our second ever Trilateral Trade Summit, and it could not come at a more important time. We understand with all of the global conversations that there are some who would like us to recede to our own boundaries, but my colleagues and I at the City Council think it is more important than ever to work globally. Not only does it enrich our lives, but it is key to our economy. 44% of our state's global trade footprint is with Mexico and Canada. And so we want to strengthen that as well as our relationships with our sister cities. I'm grateful for Rita, Rick, and the entire board of directors of Sister Cities, as well as Mayor Nenshi for joining us here today. We are trying to build a more export-oriented economy, whether it be helping our smallest businesses come up with the toolkits they need to be able to export, or turning Sky Harbor Airport into even more of an economic engine with more international non-stop flights between our communities and others. we hope to build back stronger. And 2020 was tough, but we had some of our biggest economic development announcements ever. So I'll hope to talk a little bit more of that during this conversation.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Mayor Gallego. Mayor Nenshi, please share with us and the audience how you see things transpiring as we move out of this, hopefully, pandemic and move into a building better, back better sort of decade. We know that you've been the mayor for a number of years and have many, many strategies and partnerships advancing. Mayor Nenshi, welcome.
Well, thank you so much. And thanks so much for having me. I haven't even met Mayor Gallego yet. It's been a little too busy lately, but we had a wonderful relationship with Mayor Stanton. And we have really valued the Sister Cities relationship with Phoenix in a very deep way. But I must tell you that in the past, that relationship has really been one based on social and cultural things. Many Calgarians enjoy traveling to Phoenix. Many Calgarians have homes in Phoenix. And we've done a wonderful student exchange for many years. But I think it really is time for us to think harder on the trade issue and how we can deepen our economic ties. So as you said, it's no surprise to anyone that we have been dealing with a very tough year. And I say that we have been dealing with 5 simultaneous crises, any one of which is a historic crisis. We're dealing with a public health pandemic. We're dealing with a mental health and addictions crisis, which was there before but has been exacerbated by the pandemic. We're dealing with an economic crisis. We're dealing with an environmental crisis as we come to terms with climate change. And we're finally coming to a really important but extraordinarily difficult reckoning on the issue of anti-racism and what it means to go from being a place that is diverse and pluralistic and multicultural and strives to be not racist to a place that is truly anti-racist. And all of this is coming at us all at once. So Mayor Gallego, it was interesting to hear you say that despite all the dark clouds, you've made some of the best economic development announcements this year. So have we, interestingly enough. And so, for example, we've always had a very powerful film industry here in Calgary. We account for more Oscars, Emmys, and Golden Globe winners than any jurisdiction outside the United States. But it's always been small but quality. And now I recently got a call from a filmmaker saying, I really want to shoot in Calgary, but do you know you're completely full? And so this has been very exciting. We made some great announcements in the tech sector. Our bread and butter here in Calgary is the energy sector. And as we go through a global energy transition, we're very well placed to lead in that area. And like you, we are a relatively small place in a big, big world. And our entire economy in this country and in this city is based entirely on trade and export. And so export and import, in fact. So we're very excited in a world that seems to be characterized more and more by closeness, closed minds, closed hearts, closed borders. We remain defiantly open to the world. And it's one of the reasons I'm thrilled to be having this conversation with you all today.
Thank you so much, Mayor Nenshi. And for us at Thunderbird, one of our sort of taglines is borderless. And a second one is borders frequented by trade seldom need soldiers. And so we share and are completely partners with you and Mayor Gallego in this belief that openness can bring not only prosperity, but also inclusivity if we do it in the right way. Mayor Gallego, share with us and the audience some of the great successes of the past year to 16 months, despite the 5 crises that I think Mayor Nenshi so elegantly sort of identified that are interlocking. It has been, in some sense, exacerbated the 4 other ones since the pandemic. Mayor Gallego?
Well, one of our great successes actually came out of our Sister City program, and that was with our sister city of Taipei. We went to Taiwan to celebrate the 40th anniversary of that relationship. And while we were there, met with TSMC, the folks who make the semiconductor chips in your iPhones and many other products. They were looking for a new North American outpost, and we were able to persuade them that Phoenix was where they wanted to do that advanced manufacturing. So they made a $12 billion economic investment. It is our largest ever economic development project in the city. As mayor, when you're in the middle of so many challenges, as we were in the middle of 2020, you want to know how your city's going to come out of it. Are we going to come out of it and build back better? And the fact that we could have a global investment, it was particularly meaningful to me that it was with an Asian country, and that we could do it at the height of the pandemic made me feel even more confident that Phoenix's future is bright. But we've also had smaller investments in every corner of our city. Since we're talking about trilateral trade, we had a great partnership we're calling Arizona Fresh, where we have our partners in Mexico investing in a food-focused campus that will help bring great food-oriented businesses to our community right along a riverfront area that we are hoping to redevelop in Phoenix. So we're hoping from our smallest entrepreneurs to our biggest mega manufacturing that we can come out of 2020 with great jobs in the forefront, and that people will have more economic opportunity, which will help make it easier to find solutions to those 5 crises.
So, Mayor Gallego, if I could ask you one more question, as you're speaking with citizens, and I'll ask Mayor Nenshi this question as well, how do you convey to them that, given all these challenges that they're facing, households are struggling, that the future is bright, that these new deals, these new opportunities in terms of international trade and business opportunities will lead to a brighter future for them? How do you convey to them the possibilities of a better future?
I think Phoenix is a city of opportunity, and I hope to tell that story. So many of our most successful entrepreneurs came to us from either other states or often other countries. You yourself, Dean, have an amazing story coming to us originally as a refugee, but finding the opportunity to lead in Phoenix. When I launched my campaign for mayor, I was newly divorced with an infant. None of the 10 largest US cities had a mayor of my gender or my age, but in Phoenix, there was that opportunity, and we jumped at it. We have so many elected officials who, even on the Phoenix City Council, multiple elected officials who were not born in the United States, but found an open door in Phoenix. I think that's why so many folks from Calgary have also wanted to be here, is we're not asking what your passport says, we're asking what you have to offer.
We totally agree. Mayor Nenshi, similar question to you. How do you convey to citizens of your city, of your community, that there is a brighter future ahead despite those 5 crises that all of us are facing, and certainly they're facing? Mayor Nenshi?
This is probably one of the largest challenges we've got right now. And just before I answer it, I want to say I just love Mayor Gallego's story so much. I was 38 when I was elected mayor, which actually wasn't that young, believe it or not. The previous 3 mayors had all been 38 when they were elected. It seems to be the magic age. I am now much older, and I have recently announced that I will not be running for re-election. And one of the big things people have been saying in understanding that I've only got, according to Syria, 195 days left, is how can you leave us now? This is not a good time. But ultimately, the argument I've been making is very similar to your question, Dean, which is things are grim right now. And by the way, here, they are pretty grim. We're in the middle of a not very nice 3rd wave of COVID. And we're in a race of vaccines versus variants at the moment. I just got my shot yesterday. I'm very excited about that. I feel good. But but at the same time, we really are having to help people understand that there's not just green shoots out there. There is a forest growing around us of economic and social opportunity. And knock on wood, once we get people vaccinated, the world will shift quite suddenly. The other challenge we've got here, so there's 2 other challenges we have here in Calgary. Number one is we are going through an energy transition, and we're a city whose primary industry has been energy for a long time. That doesn't mean we're going to become dinosaurs, but it does mean we have to be at the forefront of what a lower carbon future looks like. And that's been a very, very jarring transition. Calgary went from having the lowest unemployment rate in Canada for many, many years, being the economic engine of the country. We're still the economic engine of the country. But our unemployment rate went from the lowest in the country to the highest in 18 months. So we're going through a real transition right now, and it's been hard for people. And a lot of that has reflected itself in what we're seeing everywhere, and I'm sure you're seeing it in Arizona as well, an increasing hardening of public discourse. of people feeling perhaps angry, divided, mean. I mean, let's just stay off of Twitter, but I mean in real life too. And this has been, this is the hardest part, because in order for us to achieve that broad, bright future, we have to figure out a way to get along. We have to figure out how we answer the oldest question in humanity, which is how do we live together? And that's been really the hardest part for me. I think the vast majority of people are optimistic. They love where they live. They want it to be better. But this vocal minority of just incredible anger and division, and I don't know what it's like there, but here, sort of the anti-mask, anti-lockdown movement is only a very, very thin veneer hiding a white nationalist, supremacist hatred movement. And that's like nothing I've ever seen in my life. And we have got to figure out as leaders and as people in the community how we reorient our society towards the amazing things we should be proud of and how we're building something better.
Thank you so much, Mayor. Pardon me, Mayor Gallego. Do you want to pick up this thread about something that we've talked a lot about, how to make Phoenix a more inclusive global city, to cherish and celebrate all of the various communities we have, and to see that in that diversity, the possibilities for strength. And as the mayor from Calgary has said, to make sure that we are anti-racist, anti-sexist, while also maximizing the benefits of that diversity. Do you want to pick up on that thread, Mayor Gallego?
It's something we're thinking about a lot as well at the City of Phoenix. Although I'm on the other end of my mayoral spectrum, it was something that really impacted me. And when I began, my first act was to sign a proclamation against hate and bigotry. I'm well aware that proclamations do not solve problems, but I thought it was an important value statement. What you do first can often say, what are the problems that you think are most concerning? We've had some very difficult incidents of hate. I hope that we can first say we do not tolerate it and that is not our values, but also for people who are feeling threatened that there's enough prosperity and opportunity to go around, that just because some group that has been historically marginalized is now doing better, that is not diminish the opportunities for those who have traditionally done well, that perhaps we have opportunity as a growing city to offer more. Phoenix gets its name from inspired by the story of a bird rising from ashes. In our case, the ashes was from a traditional Native American community that farmed in this area, and then Phoenix rose again, using the canals of the Hohokam peoples to push water throughout our community, and that was our birth as a farming community. We just turned 140 years old, which compared to Arizona peers maybe makes us an older city, but compared to most of the world makes us a very young city. But I hope one that can offer opportunity, where you can say you can continue the work that your family has done for generations if that's what you want, but also where you can reinvent yourself or go in a new path. And hopefully with that opportunity and optimism, maybe people who are feeling a little bit on the outside will not need to do so.
Mayor Gallego, if I could pick up on the other thread of Mayor Nenshi's comments about the energy transition, but really more broadly about sectors. And you spoke about semiconductors. Obviously, Phoenix and Arizona is very quickly becoming a semiconductor sort of capital of the world, thanks to your leadership and many others. What are some of the other, and you mentioned the food, investment and partnership with our colleagues south of the border. What are some of the other sectors that you and your administration, along with partners across the city and state, are trying to advance as high growth areas, opportunities for the city and the community?
Well, this conversation has given me some new ideas about how we might be able to collaborate with Calgary on energy and energy transitions. We hope to be a leader in sustainability, and in fact, climate change is a very real issue for us in Phoenix. But we're also a city where we have more than 300 days of sunshine, and so what better location for a hub of clean tech, particularly solar energy. We also, as the fastest growing city in the United States, know a little bit about building and building materials, and we've seen an increasing sector in advanced buildings. So whether that be devices that can help you manage your building more effectively, including using AI, or how do we integrate solar into buildings or use new materials in new ways. We have a company in Phoenix that has Canadian tie, that's a Canadian company that makes wall insulation out of blue jeans. And
Oh yeah.
we call that the circular economy. So where you
That's
can
right.
take things that used to end up in a landfill and turn them into the products of tomorrow. So we hope to be we're becoming an increasing hub of those circular economy clean tech companies. And I think that's something we have in common with Calgary.
And and on that note, come to you, Mayor Nenshi. I mean, Mayor Gallego is a current young global leader. It turns out that Mayor Nenshi and I were young global leaders together a few years ago. We won't go say when, but Mayor Nenshi, we know that you, like Mayor Gallego, believes in the power of these new technologies: AI, the Internet of Things, blockchain, nanotech. You mentioned the creative industries. So, what are the sectors you see as you are advancing the energy transition? What are some of this great, industries capital of the world? What are some of the other areas and sectors you see on the horizon for Calgary?
So I have to mention the 7 sectors that we're focused on in every single speech, and I always do them in a different order to see if I can remember them all. But I will tell you what they are. And by the way, I should just point out that it's really interesting what the parallels between our two cities are. We're roughly the same age. We're 136 years old. We're built on strong Indigenous foundations in this land. So we may be new, but the land is ancient. We're roughly the same size. Phoenix is a little bit bigger. And so there's a lot of very interesting parallels here. We also have 300 days of sun a year, but it's not quite as warm. So the climate is pretty different. But we are, in fact, the sunniest place in Canada as well, interestingly. But so we really have a focus in our economic development strategy, which is called Calgary in the New Economy, not a very creative name, on building sectors where we have existing and emerging strengths. So the first one, of course, is energy. And when I talk about the energy transition, I should point out there's still a very, very, very big role for traditional energy for a long time yet, for access for our energy to markets, because I happen to believe that access to safe, reliable energy is the strongest anti-poverty tool we have. And so we need to make sure that we're blessed with these resources, but that people around the world can benefit from that. And so energy in all its forms, conventional, unconventional, clean, green, all of it is number one. Then we go through transportation and logistics, travel and tourism. We have a pretty big aerospace hub here, which most people don't know about. And the world of logistics is really important. One of my favorite companies in Calgary that will soon be a unicorn, I'm sure, is called Adibotics. They call themselves a geometry company, masquerading as a robotics company. Because what they do is they have figured out ways that you can do warehousing in 1/10 of the space of a normal warehouse. And as they have told me, their aspiration is that they will serve every single online retailer that is not named after a large river in South America. And they're well on their way to doing exactly that. So transportation and logistics, travel and tourism, the creative industries, as I mentioned, agri-food and agribusiness. We got 7.5 billion people in the world to feed, and the way that technology is shifting in that industry is incredibly important. Life sciences, as people are growing older and our populations are growing healthier, this pandemic shows us more than anything what we need to do in order to make sure that we're at the forefront of innovation. And, finally, financial services. And you'll notice that I didn't say technology, because we don't see tech as a real sector. What we see tech as is underlying all of the others. We, in our traditional industries, are anticipating an $18 billion digitization opportunity in the next 5 years. And so there's real opportunity for technology firms to help solve problems. Our vision at the city is to be Canada's city of choice for the world's best entrepreneurs. Now, frankly, any city could have that vision if you stop right there. But the second half of the sentence is the important part. We want to be the city of choice for the world's best entrepreneurs who are interested in solving the world's biggest problems, whether those are problems in energy, in feeding 7.5 billion people, in getting people the goods and services they need, or in democratizing financial services. All of those are huge problems, and we welcome entrepreneurs who want to solve problems in those areas.
Well, I know that Mayor Gallego completely aligns with that, and her vision is very, very much similar, as is ours at Thunderbird. It's about entrepreneurship and innovation for solving complex global problems from the local to the national to the international level. And Mayor Nenshi, before I go back to Mayor Gallego, can you share a little bit more about the local partnerships, the provincial and national partnerships, and even the international partnerships you've been engendering with your team to advance this vision of being, an entrepreneurship hub for the world solving global problems?
So everyone has regrets about COVID and about 2020. Here's my regret. In January 2020, I made my plan for the year, and I was planning to be on the road for almost the entire year because it just made sense to be doing that. And in fact, when COVID really started, I was in India on a global trade mission. The first time I've ever been to India, by the way. People always look at me and go, how could that be the first time you've been to India? But it was. And and basically, the virus was chasing us, and I figured I'd better fly home. I flew home on a Monday and did a press conference where I fully remember saying, we should start worrying about this virus. So I'm just going to make a mayoral edict. And by the way, Mayor Gallego, you can't actually make edicts like this, but I said it anyway. And the edict was no more handshakes in Calgary. I've just been in India, and we're going to say namaste from now on. And that was Monday. By Saturday, we declared our second ever state of local emergency in our history. The schools were closed. We were on a full stay at home as much as you can order, and it happened within a week. And so suddenly my plans to travel all over the world, not so much. But at the same time, we have been trying to use technology and other things to build up our international relationships. So I'll start with the international. And in fact, that trip to India had led to, just like your trip to Taipei, had led to 6 really profound opportunities, one of which is already announced. The global IT giant Infosys is going to create their Canadian headquarters here in Calgary. And so there are lots of, or their Canadian hub of activity. I don't think it's actually their headquarters. Anyway, 500 jobs to start and growing from there. So we've had lots of opportunities that way internationally. And we do those opportunities in conjunction with the government of Canada, who really, we've had to remind them, and I bet you feel the same way, Mayor Gallego. Sometimes we have to remind the folks in the federal government that the West exists, and they need to focus a little bit on us as well. And so luckily they've been pretty good. Now, one of the things that I've been lacking, to be quite honest, until quite recently, is a great relationship with the provincial government. Our province has been focused on perhaps other issues. And often I feel when I'm out on these trade missions that it's just like I'm the salesperson with my sample case in the CEO's office. And as great a salesperson as I am, I need some backup. So quite recently, the province of Alberta has decided that diversifying the economy is maybe not a bad thing, and has made some real investments in their thinking around how to attract business. And I'm very pleased that they've set up a new investment agency that is co-located with my colleagues at Calgary Economic Development, so that they have to work together because they share a bathroom. So hopefully that will help us create stronger partnerships in the work that we're doing.
Thank you so much, Mayor Nenshi. And I love the namaste. So, and Mayor Gallego and I were planning a trip to India, right, Mayor Gallego? And then, of course, the pandemic, like you, prevented us from continuing with that travel. Mayor Gallego, share, all the great partnerships you've been building in the city and the state, nationally and internationally, that are very similar, obviously more, appropriate to Phoenix, but very similar in the vein and vision values to what Mayor Nenshi has been doing in Calgary.
Absolutely. One that comes to mind is actually one we've done with Thunderbird and our Dream Builders Academy. We are trying to give women entrepreneurs with ties to Mexico the opportunity to do business and trying to help those women in Mexico who may want to be future business partners of us in Phoenix. That's been a trend in the city of Phoenix as well. We've tried to look more broadly. I obviously bragging about the big multinational, but there's so much to offer with our smaller businesses. And if we can fully engage everyone in our community with entrepreneurial opportunities, we think that we will do better. We have folks in our community with ties to pretty much everywhere in the world. And if we give them a little bit of access to capital, they may have ideas that not only transform Phoenix, but can be, again, part of a more global Phoenix. And so we're hoping we're not just looking at who looks like the last class of entrepreneurs, but people recognizing that people of all ages have something to offer. We even have a specific partnership around entrepreneurship that we did with an organization for older adults, with the idea that if there's a problem that a 25-year-old guy with a bachelor's in computer science has, there's probably a startup that can address it. But maybe if you're retired and you have some challenges that companies haven't always offered those, or if you're struggling to pay your electricity bill, are there entrepreneurial companies that can help you navigate that? And that's been something that's very successful and seems, again, maybe a similar spirit to Mayor Nenshi's looking at solving the important problems for the world. We continue to invest with our Sister Cities program and agree with Mayor Nenshi that the cultural ties have been incredibly important, but as we develop more business ties between our communities, that will only both strengthen our cities and that particular program. So we're very optimistic that 2020 will be the most difficult year in our city's history, but also a pivot point where we started to do better and really took off with the vision of Phoenix Rising.
Thank you so much, Mayor Gallego. We, unfortunately, as you both know, couldn't have Mayor Lopez from Hermosillo. She sent her regrets. I'm wondering if you want to share anything about the partnership, another sister city with Hermosillo, with Mayor Lopez and the great work that's going on there, particularly in the context of the USMCA and what it has created, or may create, both in terms of opportunities, but also challenges in terms of fostering trilateral trade. Mayor Gallego?
Absolutely. We had such great hope as USMCA passed about positive benefits for our community, and both with Canada and Mexico, we saw a decline in that export-related business in 2020, but we're hoping to build up from that. We hope to be a hub for both Mexican and Canadian business. So much Canadian foreign direct investment goes through New York, and I was laughing when Mayor Nenshi mentioned that the federal government has to pay attention to the West Coast. So does the financial service industry. So we're hopeful that we might be, for much of Canada, an entry point for that foreign direct investment, particularly in the western half of our country. We figure at this time of year, a good portion of Canada is in Phoenix anyway, so it would work out beautifully. Mayor Lopez and I have also been trying to collaborate, and it's been on different areas than a traditional sister city relationship. So we, at the height of COVID, met to talk about what type of safety precautions we were putting in our communities and also access to testing. And that's a dialogue we continue to help, where we're wondering if particularly our great universities, which have done a lot around COVID testing, might be able to work with our counterparts in Mexico on that. We know it's a chase against variants, and it's not enough just to vaccinate our own community, but the virus can evolve anywhere in the world, and we need the entire world to be safe for us to be safe. So I just recently contacted our federal government about our international support for vaccines and making sure that our partners in Hermosillo and Sonora are at the forefront of awareness of our own country, because we have such key ties, and we want to make sure that they have access to the best healthcare technology as well. We want to rise from COVID together.
Thank you so much, Mayor Gallego. Mayor Nenshi, you want to share a little bit? I mean, you've been a mayor from NAFTA through the USMCA. You've really seen the transformation. Some of your reflections on where we've come and the possibilities for the future, specific that you might want to, remark about Hermosillo and Mayor Lopez and partnerships with her in that city. Mayor Nenshi?
Happy to do that. One of the funniest things, which I bet most Americans don't know, is part of the negotiations for the new NAFTA involved negotiations on what it was called. So it has three different names. So in Canada, it's called CAMUSA because Canada has to come first. In the US, it's called USMCA, and I actually don't know what it's called in Mexico. It's a completely different acronym, which is very strange. But that's why we're in municipal government, right, Mayor Gallego? Because we just get stuff done. We don't fight about things like what's it going to be called and negotiate that forever. That's for the federal government to do. But I will say that two things. Number one is I have to tell you that I have always been a little bit frustrated that I think in this region in the West, and particularly in the Mountain West where Calgary is, we have been underperforming in our relationships with Mexico. Other than a lot of tourism, I think that we could do a much better job, even in energy, with one of the world's energy superpowers in Mexico. It's something that I've never really been able to crack through our work. We too have a sister city in Mexico, and frankly, that relationship is not that interesting. It's one of the suburbs of Mexico City, and we really ought to do a much better job. And I hope that CAMUSA gets, or USMCA really allows us to redraft that relationship, because I think there are incredible opportunities. The other one that we have to be really thoughtful of is the Canada-US relationship. Canada was for most of history the US's largest trading partner. Nowadays, it's first or second, depending on how mad you are with China. But I think we are the largest trading partner of 36 of the US states. And so that relationship is strong. It is deep. We are the closest friends in the world. We share the world's longest undivided border. But nonetheless, there are irritants. And there are things that we have to fix. So, we were very disappointed in President Biden's decision to unilaterally cancel the Keystone XL pipeline. We continue to be disappointed in Governor Whitmer's attempt to cut off the energy supply to much of the eastern seaboard from a tiny piece of a pipeline that's been under the Straits of Mackinac for decades, into 60 years plus. These are challenging things, and certainly we have to be pragmatic in this relationship. We share the United States commitment now to fighting climate change, and we have to figure out ways to better partner with this rather than these unilateral sort of reactions that actually will increase energy poverty and will have no impact on emissions. So these are things that we've got to be super thoughtful and pragmatic about. You can't see it here, but I have a little purple pocket square. I wear purple every day. Purple is my political color. And that is not because it brings out the color of my eyes. It's because it is red and blue. Because I believe that we have to get beyond partisanship, and we have to be able to move to a place where we work together. And so, my entire life, there have been stories on the news about the softwood lumber dispute, and usually people just stop listening at that point. But the fact that we have allowed these sort of irritants to persist in the Canada-US trade relationship, I think is very problematic. And we could be so much more powerful if we were able to figure out together that we share common goals for the world as well as for our own citizens. And so I'm really hoping that, after a couple years of, shall we say, challenges under the previous US administration in managing a lot of trade irritants, from what we think are unjust tariffs and countervailing duties to the endless discussion around USMCA CAMUSA, let's move forward. We've got a new administration in place in Washington. We have the deals in place, and I'm really hopeful that we'll be able to spend the next months and years building back better, as President Biden says, in a way that helps all of us achieve prosperity and sustainability environmentally, socially, and financially.
Thank you so much, Mayor Nenshi. Mayor Gallego, we're coming to our last few minutes. I wanted to ask you to perhaps pick up on the theme of climate change. It's also something that you've played a major leadership role in increasingly driving for Phoenix, but also to maybe talk about a topic close to my heart, which I'll then go back to Mayor Nenshi about, which is higher education and education more generally. And how can educators, how can universities, how can educational institutions, as we come out of this pandemic, contribute to our goals of international trade, of sustainability, of inclusivity. So Mayor Gallego. I think Mayor Gallego might have been frozen there. Mayor Nenshi, maybe I could have you talk about higher education.
Sure.
You're a professor of well, oh, there she is. Mayor, there you are. Mayor Gallego, are you back? Great. Did you hear my question?
So I think I heard the beginning of the question, which is about education and climate change.
That's right. Well, I wanted you to pick up on we're in our last 2 minutes on the theme of climate change that Mayor Nenshi spoke about. We know that you've been increasingly exercising leadership on that issue. And then also I wanted to ask you, and then finish up with Mayor Nenshi, to talk about how education, and particularly higher education, can play a role in supporting our goals around international trade and bringing the world together and sustainability and inclusivity. So we're wrapping up. Mayor Gallego.
Wonderful. I'm hopeful that Phoenix will continue our leadership role in the area. We've developed these micro hubs in areas like clean tech finance that we think can grow globally. We're going to be making a major announcement next week around electric vehicles, which I hope will be part of how people move from Canada to Mexico and to the US in the future. I hope that our country will start investing more in research and development around climate change. We've really seen a decline in the last few years about that, and that our universities, including in Arizona and in Calgary, can lead the way with those solutions.
Thank you so much, Mayor Gallego. Mayor Nenshi?
100%. Yeah, no, 100%. We need to work well with our post-secondary institutions. Otherwise, you don't have innovation. Innovation happens at universities, and I don't say that just because I'm a university professor on the world's longest leave. But critically, we need support from our provincial and federal governments, from our state governments, in order to understand that where we are with climate change is at the point where we get it, it's real, we understand it, and we have to find practical solutions to help people build the quality of their life while addressing the greatest challenge of our generation, or any generation, which is managing climate change. And you can't do that without innovation at the university level, in science, in engineering, in business, and throughout the system. And I just wish that our other orders of government would understand that.
Well, really appreciate it. We're going to wrap up. We're in our last 10 seconds. Want to thank Mayor Gallego, Mayor Nenshi. We missed Mayor Lopez, but I think for all of us, you really demonstrate the great opportunities of leadership. And thank you, Mayor Nenshi, for your many years of leadership. We're going to miss you as the mayor, but we know you'll continue to do amazing things. And as I said, Mayor Gallego, before you joined, that Mayor Nenshi is welcome, right, in Phoenix anytime he can join us. So please stay safe and healthy, everyone. Thank you, Mayor Gallego, Mayor Nenshi. Thank you to Rita and Rick and everybody at Phoenix Sister Cities. All the best, everyone.
Thank you all
Take
so
care.
much. Thank you.
Awesome exchange, great information, and thank you to Dr. Khagram, Mayor Nenshi, and Mayor Gallego for sharing your time and your information with all of us. A really great discussion as we kind of look at our trade picture in the future. Kind of exciting, too.